And am I right in remembering? So I remember watching. I feel like I remember watching that World Indoors that year. You were you like kind of because there must have been rounds. I seem to remember you leading lots of races and
Oh
kind
my
of
word.
surprising the commentators. And you like
I
this,
surprised,
and you seem like a new talent on the scene at that moment in time.
yeah, I surprised myself because that year, 2006, I knew I had the qualifying time to go, but I didn't win the World Champs.
Right.
I was like having, I mean, I go through it now. I'm having ups and downs my running now. I've always
Yeah.
had it, and I
Yeah.
was having ups and downs. I wasn't like racing well. I wasn't enjoying training, and I didn't win the World Championships, which I was definitely expected to win. And I was like, that's it. Season's over. I can't be bothered. And then a good friend of mine, James Thee, who's now like one of the best coaches in the country.
Yeah.
He was my training partner. He made me go to the British trials, and I did not want to go. He's like, "You just go.
Yeah.
You've got the qualifying time. Just go. You never know what's going to happen." So I did a few weeks of training with him. I started feeling a bit better. Went to the British champs, won it. Like, which is so I didn't expect, and I was so lucky because I was I had so much doubt and nerves, and James was in my heat in the British
Right.
champs, and he just said, "Run, just run with me. I don't
Right.
know what's wrong with you, but you need to
Yeah.
sort your head out. Just run with me." And I ran with him, and then I just overtook him on the last lap and won
Right.
my heat. And that seemed to like much like that first tackle as a 9 year old. I need things to just wake me up. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I can do this now.
Light the fire. Yeah.
Yeah. So I won the British champs, and then I was selected to go to the World Indoor Championships in Moscow, and I just went to Spain on holidays to celebrate. Just like my sister lived in Spain, so I went to see my sister, and I
Right.
was just drinking beer every day, running up mountains, not doing a lot of training. Then I got on the plane to Moscow. I was like, oh my God, I'm racing my hero in the heat, Yuri Bozakovsky. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
racing him in my heat. This is amazing.
This is the guy you wanted to be. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, this is a dream come true. So all I'm gonna do is run with him. Like I don't care what happens. I'm just going to run with him. And me and
Right.
him, like we just shared the lead all the way around in the heat. And then next thing you know, I'm in like the semi-finals of the World Championships. And I was the slowest athlete by 2 or 3 seconds at
Right.
that championships going in. And I made the semi-final. And it was just a thing where I was like, I'm going to get the final now. I just know I
Right.
am. I just know I'm going to do it. And
That's amazing. So you had this kind of just a feeling in yourself that you just had you just knew you were going to do it. I feel like I know
yeah,
that feeling, but to feel it at that level must be quite an incredible. Just be walking
yeah,
around with a real bounce in your step.
yeah, it was really strange because and this sounds absolutely mad, but I knew I was going to make the final when I picked up my number. Two things. I picked up my number and I saw that I was in a heat with Borzakowski, and all the numbers on my vest added up to 13. I was like, I'm going to get the final. I just know it. Like, it's just, because I remember there was conversations around that time with me and a few of our friends, and we were like, how we add up the numbers on our vest. And if it's a
Right.
13, we know we're going to have a bad race.
All right.
And I was like, oh, look, my numbers add up to 13. This is going to be good. I know this is going to be good. So, yeah, I just had this feeling. It was mad. It was mad.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I quit the sport then, because I didn't feel that ever again.
Oh, right. Oh, well. So wait there. You jumped a bit there. I want to
Yeah.
ask. I want to ask you about the final. So I mean, I just admit I've just watched it again on YouTube
Yeah.
with Spanish commentator who calls you. Actually, I speak Spanish. He calls you the English guy.
Oh, really?
El inglés.
That's cool. That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, what I first thing I noticed is they hold you on that start line for ages. Is that just
Oh
because
my
it was a
God.
final? I mean, you must have been so nervous then, or were you just totally in the zone and calm? How did that feel standing on that start line?
They held us on I remember the wait on the start line. It was because it was the final event of the
Yeah.
championships.
Okay.
And it was all like that whole championships was set up for Borzakowski to win it in Moscow.
Yeah.
And we were on the track for ages, like ages. I wasn't nervous. Uh, it's funny, like the things I was thinking about. So one of the things that I've talked about this before was I was so kind of like focused on the final that I didn't pack my kit bag properly. And when I got to the call up room where you put your spikes on, I noticed I didn't have my racing spikes. I had a pair of socks that belonged to my sister.
Oh God.
So um they were like ankle socks. So I put them on and I just remember thinking, this is crazy. I'm standing on the start line. of the final world champs. I got my sister's socks on, and I remember I just kept thinking about that, and it was just taking all the pressure off. I just kept looking down, and I could see a bit
Right.
of a pink and
Wow.
floral pattern on my sock. I was like, this is cool. Nobody else has got these on. Um, and yeah, I was just really excited. I was just really looking
Yeah.
forward to it, and I knew that I was going to do everything that I was told not to do in the final. So
Yeah.
I
Which was
was,
what was that then? What were you told not to do?
I
Lead.
was, yeah, I was told don't lead it,
Yeah.
don't lead it, because there was some really good races there. There's
Yeah.
Borzakowski, Muladzi, and Bungai.
Yeah.
Bungai won the next Olympics. I think Muladzi won a silver at the Olympics. So there were three really good races there, and an indoor track is small.
Yeah.
So the advice I had from everybody was like, those lot are going to be doing the racing.
Yeah.
You just tuck yourself in, stay out of trouble, and try and get a medal.
Yeah.
And then I was just thinking, no, like I'm gonna go for it.
So
So
did that moment where you go for it, you take it's about 300 meters in, I think you move to the front. Is
yeah,
that just like you just cannot, you're just feeling so good, you just cannot hold yourself back, or is it just a panic, or what's going on? Do you
I just
remember?
felt so good. I felt
Yeah.
so good, and I felt this sounds crazy, but I just felt that I was going to win it. I just
Yeah.
felt that that I'd
Here we
had such
go.
yeah. I felt like I'd had such an unlikely journey to the final, such a
Yeah.
strange season
Yeah.
that in my head I was like, this would just make so much sense if I just won this. But it felt slow.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts. I was like, this feels slow. I remember thinking the first half, this feels slow. Come on, someone's got to go for it. And I knew Borzakowski was going to finish strong at the end.
Yeah.
I could kind of see him, and I was like, right, I want him. If I don't win, I want him to win. So I was thinking, if I go now, maybe he'll come with me. So yeah, it was like everything's happening a million miles an hour, but
Yeah.
I just felt good, and I just wanted to make the most of feeling good.
Yeah. Oh wow. Well, so now we'll jump back to you. So you had this kind of breakthrough moment, and
Yeah,
then I, as a fan of the sport, who was actually only kind of a half fan at that point in time, wasn't watching it as avidly as I had as a teenager. But
yeah,
yeah, you just seemed to disappear,
yeah.
and so it turns out you did. You gave up the sport. So what happened there?
Uh, I think part of it was I thought getting to the final of the World Championships would lead to more than it did. Um, for some reason, I just imagined that I would be connected with more coaches. I would have
Yeah.
more structure to my training, and it didn't really happen.
Right.
I was back down the local track with a rugby team training in the middle, which I know sounds incredibly snobby now, but
No, no.
back then I just felt like, oh, things are gonna be different now. I'm gonna be taken care of a bit more, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna, but it just everything just felt the same. And because I'd had a lot of uncertainty getting to the World Championships, and I felt like a lot of it was like just things going well at the time, I was really worried that people around me didn't really know how to take it to the next level. And
Yeah.
that's not me slagging anybody off. It's,
Yeah,
more
they just didn't have the experience or the knowledge of
yeah,
what to do next. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like I spent time talking to people like Bungai and Muladzi and Borzakowski while I was out there, hearing about their training. And then I was coming back going, I've spoke to Bungai, this is what we need to start doing. And it was just, we just didn't do it. And then
Yeah.
I remember having like an okay outdoor season. I ran 146 a couple of times. Um, and I just felt like the way I wanted to race, I couldn't train. I didn't have the support to train in the way I wanted to race. So I did a Diamond League meeting in Crystal Palace, and I had to be the first Brit to cross the line in order to go to European Championships. And everybody was telling me I'd run 146 already. You're in 145, 144 shape. So I went on the track and I ran 144 times. Like every 200 meters, I ran, and then I died at the end, and I
Right.
barely scraped 146 again. I remember just thinking, why is everybody telling me I'm in the shape when I'm not? Does anybody
Yeah.
not know what's going on? And then I raced Bungay out in Holland, and I had a terrible race, and he was kind of like what's gone wrong, basically, like what's
Yeah.
happened. I was like, I don't know, I'm feeling heavy. I don't feel like my training is up to much. I was talking to him about my training, and he was a bit like, no, that it doesn't sound like you're
Yeah.
doing enough of this, stuff of that. And then I came home and I was like, do you know what, that's it, I'm done. I can't. And there's loads of other things. It was traveling around Europe on my own, made me feel really lonely. Like I just didn't like it. I didn't really have many friends with me. Um, and it was just like, yeah, I just felt like lonely. I didn't feel like I could confidently say this was going to go well.
Right.
Uh,
It feels like you needed someone at that point in time, someone to kind of reach out and like say, come and join our group, live with us,
yeah,
we'll take you to the next level. And I guess that just didn't happen, and you didn't really know how to make it happen at that age, I suppose, at that point
yeah,
in time.
exactly. Yeah, like you're like 24, 25. You're still working in a record shop.
Yeah,
Um, you've raced your idols, you've been on a fairly big stage with athletics, and then like someone like Mo Farah, who someone I trained with, was good friends with. I see him go to America.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, maybe I should be doing that. Like,
yeah,
but I just didn't know how to do it.
yeah,
I didn't know what the options were. So, um, I'm very much one of those people that if I feel like I can just divert my energy elsewhere and get to do
yeah.
the things I love, which are traveling and showing off, I'll do that. So that's why I started a band.